Today, we're talking about the 13 signs of weakness that are silently destroying men all around the world. And here's what's scary. Most guys don't even realize they're trapped in these patterns. The problem is, weakness creeps in slowly. It doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as just this once. I deserve this, or everyone else is doing it. Before you know it, these patterns have taken over your life. Today, I'm going to expose these patterns so you can recognize them and destroy them before they destroy you. Let's start with the first sign. You can't say no. Now, I want you to think about your week. How many times have you been asked to do something despite not wanting to, not having time for it, or it not being your responsibility? You still said yes, right? This is people-pleasing disguised as being helpful. And it's killing your potential. Here's what happens when you can't say no. You overcommit yourself. You burn out. You resent the people you're trying to please. You neglect your own goals, your own family, your own health. And ironically, people start to lose respect for you because they know they can walk all over you. I learned this lesson the hard way. I used to say yes to everything because I thought it made me a good person. I agreed to work late every night. Yes to weekend projects that weren't my job. Yes to lending money I couldn't afford to lose. Yes to helping people who never helped me back. And you know what happened? I was exhausted, broke, and bitter. The people I was trying so hard to please saw me as a doormat, not a leader. Here's the strong man move. Your no is just as important as your yes. When you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to what matters most. Practice this phrase. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now. No long explanations, no elaborate excuses, just a clear, respectful no. Start small. Say no to one thing this week that you would generally say yes to out of guilt or obligation. Notice how the world doesn't end. Notice how people actually respect you more, not less. A strong man's time and energy are valuable resources. Protect them like your life depends on it, because it does. Sign number 2 is one that a lot of men don't want to talk about, but we need to address it head on. Always watching adult videos. Look, I'm not here to preach morality to you. I'm here to talk about strengths and weaknesses. And if you can't go a week without watching this content, you're not in control of your life. It is controlling you. Here's what this habit does to you. It rewires your brain for instant gratification. It makes genuine relationships more difficult. It wastes hours of your time that could be spent building something meaningful. It drains your motivation and energy, and deep down, it makes you feel ashamed and weak. I've had guys message me saying they want to start a business, get in better shape, find a great woman. But they're spending 2 to 3 hours a day on this stuff. You can't build strength while you're feeding weakness. The strong man move. Replace that energy with something that builds you up instead of tearing you down. When you feel the urge, do 50 push-ups instead. Read a chapter of a book that will make you better. Work on a skill that will advance your career. Call someone you care about. Go for a walk outside. Channel that same energy, because it is energy, into becoming the version of yourself that you actually respect. I know guys who redirected this habit into learning new languages, building side businesses, and getting into the best shape of their lives. The energy was always there. They just had to point it in the right direction. Sign number 3. You think you can't change your problems. That's just how I am. I've always been this way. I can't help it. It's too late for me to change. Bullshit. Every single one of these statements is a lie you tell yourself to avoid the discomfort of growth, because changing is hard. Staying the same is easy, but staying the same while expecting different results, That's insanity. I meet men in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s who have completely transformed their lives. I know guys who learned new careers in their 40s, got into the best shape of their lives in their 50s, and built excellent relationships after decades of failed ones. Let me tell you about my friend Marcus. At 45, he was 60 pounds overweight, hadn't dated in 3 years, and was stuck in a job he hated. He used every excuse in the book. My metabolism is too slow now. All the good women are taken. I'm too old to start over in my career. Today, 3 years later, he's in incredible shape, happily married, and running his own successful consulting business. What changed? He stopped believing his own excuses. The strong man move. Start with one small change this week. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not next month. This week, change how you start your morning. Change what you eat for lunch. Change how you respond to stress. Prove to yourself that you have the power to evolve. Every expert was once a beginner. Every strong man was once weak. The only difference is that they decided to do something about it. Sign number 4. You're controlled by your bad habits. I've been scrolling social media for hours without realizing it. Drinking every weekend because that's what you do. Eating junk food when you're stressed can be a bad idea. Staying up until 2 a.m. watching YouTube videos when you have to be up at 6. Sound familiar? Here's the truth about habits. They're either making you stronger or making you weaker. There's no neutral. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. When you mindlessly scroll for 3 hours, you're voting for distraction over focus. When you drink every weekend, you're voting for numbness over clarity. When you stay up too late, you're voting for temporary pleasure over long-term energy. And the scary part? You might not even realize how much these habits are costing you. The lost productivity, the brain fog, the lack of energy, the missed opportunities, the slow decline in your self-respect. I used to have a habit of checking my phone first thing in the morning. Seemed harmless, right? But I realized that I was starting every day reactive instead of proactive. I was letting other people's priorities dictate my mood and energy. The strong man move. Pick your worst habit and attack it for 30 days. Don't try to change everything at once. That's a recipe for failure. Pick one. Replace the bad habit with a good one. Instead of scrolling when you wake up, do 10 minutes of stretching. Instead of drinking on Friday night, consider going for a long walk or hitting the gym. Instead of reaching for junk food when you're stressed, try drinking a glass of water and doing some deep breathing. Remember, you're not breaking a bad habit. You're building a new identity. You're becoming the kind of person who consistently makes strong choices. Sign number 5. You talk behind people's backs, gossiping about your coworkers, complaining about your boss to anyone who will listen, talking trash about other guys to make yourself feel better, sharing other people's business that isn't yours to share. Let me be blunt. If you're spending your energy talking about other people's problems, it's because you're avoiding dealing with your own. Gossip is the refuge of the powerless. It's what people do when they don't have anything meaningful happening in their own lives. It's a weak man's attempt to feel important by tearing others down. And here's what's really happening when you gossip. You're training your brain to focus on problems instead of solutions. You're building a reputation as someone who can't be trusted. You're wasting mental energy that could be used to improve your own situation. Plus, people notice. They might participate in the gossip when you start it, but they're thinking, if he talks about them like this, what does he say about me? I used to work with a guy who spent his entire lunch break every day complaining about management, other departments, company policies, everything. And you know what? He was in the exact same position 5 years later, while everyone else got promoted around him. Why? Because leaders don't promote people who tear down the team. They encourage people who build it up. The strong man move. When someone starts gossiping to you, change the subject or walk away. Better yet, redirect the conversation towards solutions. Instead of, "Can you believe what John did?" Try, "How can we help John succeed?" Instead of complaining about your boss, focus on exceeding their expectations. Use that energy to build something instead of tearing something down. Focus on your goals, your family, your mission. Let your life be so interesting that you don't have time to analyze everyone else's. Sign number 6. You can't handle feedback or criticism. Someone points out a mistake you made, and you immediately get defensive. Someone suggests a better way to do something, and you explain why your way is actually fine. Someone gives you constructive criticism, and you take it as a personal attack. This is your ego protecting your weakness, and it's keeping you weak. Here's what I've learned. The people who give you honest feedback are often the people who care about you the most. The people who never criticize you, they've either given up on you or don't care enough to help you grow. The old Stoic teacher stood in silence, watching his prized student weep over his wife's deathbed. He would point out when the young man finally looked up, eyes raw with grief. He asked, "Master, how do I stop this pain?" I didn't like it at first. The teacher placed a hand on his shoulder and said words that seemed cruel in that moment. When you kissed her this morning, you should have reminded yourself, "I am kissing a mortal being." 5 years later, I realized come from everything he criticized. One of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, and everything he taught that at first glance made me stronger, cold, the strong man move, even heartless. The next time someone gives you feedback, within this brutal Stoic and mean it about love. Don't lies a wisdom so profound. Don't make it doesn't diminish. Just listen and consider whether there's something deeper and more authentic than most follow-up questions. Can you give me a specific relationship advice today? What would you suggest I do differently? How can I improve in this area? We're recovering from turn criticism into coaching. But the Stoics cut through all of this fuel to address a fundamental the strongest men I know actively seek out people spend our lives challenge them and point out their blind spots. I'm your name from your ego wants to protect you from discomfort. I'm going to share the most difficult where growth happens about love, embrace it, and relationships. Sign number 7 that may initially disturb you, swayed but by what others has think. The power to transform your social media posts every 5 minutes to see how many likes you got. By the end of this video, changing your opinions based on who you're talking to. Actually doing things you don't want to do just to fit in, however difficult. Making decisions based on what will get approval rather than what's right, than what most people Gentlemen, if you're living for other people's approval, you're not living your own life. Let's begin with the Stoic performing someone else's version that most of what they think your life should be. Everything you love, and here's the crazy part. The approval you're chasing is usually from people whose lives you wouldn't want either through death. You're changing who you are to impress people. Everything and everyone you love themselves will one day be gone from your life. I used to care so much about what people thought that I would literally change my personality depending on who I was around. To label them with my gym buddies, I was super focused on fitness. Stoics would argue that with my work colleagues, I downplayed my ambitions so I wouldn't seem arrogant. With certain friends, I pretended to be interested in things I didn't care about. His personal journal, and you know what happened? You must remind yourself that I lost touch with who I actually was. Is not your own. I became so good at being what other people wanted that I forgot what I wanted forever. The truth is, people respect authenticity more than they respect people pleasing. Observe, they would rather deal with someone more often in imagination themselves than in reality, than someone who is trying to refuse to confront the temporary nature of all relationships. The strong man Michael, a client I worked with after he lost his wife of 40 years to cancer. Between sobs, he confessed something unexpected. What kind of man? I spent so many of our years together taking for granted that there would always be more time based on what now I would give anything for just one day less, where I loved her with full awareness anyway, that our time was limited. Your real friends, this is precisely the awareness the people you want to urge us to cultivate. They're attracted to men who stand for something, love, not
but
men
to strip
who bend
away its
to everything.
complacency and
Stop
reveal
being a
its true
chameleon.
depth.
Start being a man with
As
principles.
Epictetus
Sign
advised,
number 8.
in the
You
case of
struggle to
everything
take
attractive
action.
or
I'm
useful,
going to start
or
working
that you
out
are
next
fond of,
month.
remember
I'm going
to
start
say
that
just
business
what
once
sort
I
of
have
thing
everything
it is,
figured out.
beginning with the
I'm going
least
to ask
little
her out
things.
when the timing is
If
perfect.
you're fond of a jug,
I'm going to
say,
learn that
I am
skill
fond
when
of
I
a
have
jug,
more free time.
for then when it breaks,
All talk,
you will not
no
be
action.
disturbed.
Meanwhile,
This isn't
as
about
weeks turn
emotional
into months,
detachment.
and months
It's about
into
something
years,
far more
you
profound.
find yourself still in the
loving
same
with clear
place,
eyes about
making
the
the
true
same
nature
plans that
of
never seem to
existence.
come to fruition.
Why
Here's
this
the hard
truth transforms
The perfect
love.
time
Now
doesn't
let's
exist.
explore why
You will
acknowledging
never
the
have
temporary
all the
nature of
information.
love
You will
doesn't
never
diminish
feel
it,
completely
but rather
ready.
transforms
If you're
it into
waiting
something
for ideal
extraordinary.
conditions,
The
you'll be
Stoics
waiting
understood a
forever.
paradox that modern
Analysis
psychology
paralysis
has
is
only
just
recently
fear dressed up
confirmed.
as preparation.
Awareness of
You're not
impermanence
being
doesn't
thorough.
lead
You're
to
being
detachment.
scared,
It leads
and
to
fear
deeper
is
appreciation
keeping you small.
and engagement.
I
Seneca
spent
wrote,
2 years
"Let us
planning
greedily
to start
enjoy
this
our
YouTube
friends,
channel.
because
I
we do
researched
not
equipment,
know
studied other
how
creators,
long this
developed
privilege
content
will be
strategies, and
ours.
compiled lists
Think about
of
how you
video
experience
ideas.
something beautiful
I had
that you know
notebooks full
won't
of
last.
plans.
A
But you know what
sunset,
I didn't have?
the perfect
A
moment
single
at a concert,
video online.
or the laughter of small children.
Finally, a friend
The
asked me a
awareness
simple
that these
question.
moments are fleeting
What's the worst
doesn't
thing that could
reduce your
happen
joy.
if you just
It
start?
intensifies it.
And I realized
You become
the
fully
worst thing
present,
was that I
savoring
might
every aspect.
fail. But I
The
was
Stoics
already
proposed
failing by
applying
not
this
trying.
same awareness to
The
our
strong
deepest
man
relationships.
Stop
Consider
announcing
the
your
story of
plans and start
Stilpo, a
taking
philosopher
Today,
who lost his
not
city,
tomorrow, not
property,
next
and
week,
family
today.
in war.
Want to get in shape?
When asked if he had
Do
lost
20
anything, he
push-ups
replied,
right now.
"No,
Want to start
I
a
have
business?
all my goods
Research
with me,"
one thing about
referring
your
to his
industry
virtue,
tonight.
wisdom,
Want to
and
learn a new
understanding
skill?
of life's
Watch
true
one
nature.
tutorial
This
today.
wasn't callousness.
Momentum beats
It was the
motivation
ultimate
every
expression
single
of
time.
having loved
You don't get
deeply
motivated
while
and then take
understanding
action.
love's temporary
Taking action
nature.
motivates you.
Modern
The first
research
step
and terror
creates the
management
second step.
theory suggests
Perfection
that
is the enemy
confronting
of progress.
mortality actually
Done is better
increases
than
our
perfect.
capacity
Start where
for
you
love
are
and
with what you
appreciation
have
of life's
right
meaningful
now.
aspects.
Sign number 9.
A
You blame others
2017
for your
study
unhappiness.
showed that
It's your
couples
boss
who
whose fault
regularly
you're not getting
discuss
promoted.
the
It's
finite
your girlfriend's
nature of
fault
their
you're not
relationship
motivated. It's
reported
your
higher
parents' fault that you have
satisfaction
trust
and deeper
issues.
connection
It's the government's
than
fault
those who
you can't
avoided
get
such
ahead.
thoughts.
It's
This
society's
is what the
fault you
Stoics
feel
understood
lost.
intuitively.
Weak men point
Loving with
fingers.
awareness of
Strong men
impermanence
take
creates a love
responsibility.
free from the
And I
toxins
get it.
that typically
Sometimes
destroy
life
relationships.
isn't fair. Sometimes
1.
people do mistreat you.
It eliminates
Sometimes you get dealt
entitlement,
a tough
the belief
hand.
that someone
I'm not
will
saying
always
everything that
be
happens
there
to
no
you
matter
is your
how we
fault.
treat them to.
But here's what I
It
am saying.
dissolves complacency,
Your response to what
the
happens
tendency to
is always your
postpone
choice.
showing love until
Always.
some future
You
time
can't control
free.
what other people do.
It removes the burden
but you
of
can
expectations,
control what you do.
the demand that
You can't
others
control what
fulfill
happened
us
in your
completely.
past.
As
But you can
Marcus
control what you
Aurelius
do
noted,
about it today.
the art of living is
When you
more
blame
like
others,
wrestling
you're
than
giving
dancing.
away your power.
Insofar
You're
as
saying,
it stands
I can't
ready
be happy
against the
unless this
accidental
person
and the
changes.
unforeseen.
I can't
and is
succeed
not
unless
thrown
this
by it.
situation improves.
Practicing
I can't
Stoic
move
love in
forward
daily
unless someone
life.
else fixes this.
So
But
how
what
do we
happens when
apply
that
this
person
brutal
doesn't
Stoic
change?
truth about love to
What
our
happens
relationships?
when that situation
Let me
doesn't
share
improve?
3 practical exercises
You stay
the
stuck,
ancient Stoics
waiting for
used
someone else to
that
fix
you
your
can begin
life.
implementing today.
I used to blame my
Considering
childhood for a
following
lot of my
steps.
problems.
And
First,
yes,
some
morning
difficult things
contemplation.
happened that affected
The
me.
Stoics began
But at
each
some
day
point,
by
I realized that
contemplating both the
continuing to
value
blame my
and the
past
impermanence
was
of
just
their
an excuse
relationships.
to avoid
Marcus
taking
Aurelius
responsibility
wrote,
for my future.
When you wake up in the
The
morning,
day I
tell
stopped
yourself,
asking, why did this
the
happen to
people
me?
I deal with today
And started
will be
asking,
meddling,
what am I going to do about it?
arrogant, dishonest,
Was the
jealous,
day my
and
life started
surly.
changing.
They are
The
like
strong
this
man
because they
moved.
can't tell good
The
from
next time
evil.
something goes wrong,
This
ask
wasn't
yourself,
pessimism.
what could I have
It was
done
a way
differently?
of preparing himself,
Even if you
to
think it's
love
only
others
10%
despite
your
their
fault,
flaws,
own that 10%
and to appreciate
completely.
them
Focus
despite
on
their
what you can
temporary
control,
nature.
your effort, your
Try
attitude, your
Each
choices,
morning,
your
take
responses.
1 minute to think
Let
of
go
someone
of
you
what
love.
you can't control.
Acknowledge
Other
silently,
people's behavior,
this person
past
is
events,
mortal. Our
external
time together is limited.
circumstances.
Today
Take
is a
your
gift,
power back.
not a
Stop
guarantee.
being a victim
Then
of your
consider one
circumstances and specific
start
way,
being the
you'll show
architect of
appreciation
your
for them
future.
today.
Sign number 10.
Second,
You consistently
negative visualization.
choose immediate fun.
The Stoics
over
practiced
long-term essential
premeditatio
things.
malorum,
Video
the
games
premeditation of
instead building
evils
skills.
or difficulties,
Netflix instead of
applied
working
to
out.
relationships.
Sleeping in
This means
instead of getting up
periodically
early to
imagining
work on your
life
goals.
without those you
hanging out
love,
with friends
not to
instead of
induce
working on that
anxiety,
project,
but to cultivate
instant
deeper
gratification
gratitude.
instead of
Try
delayed
this.
gratification.
Once a
Look,
week,
I'm not
spend
saying you
5
should never
minutes
have fun.
imagining your
I'm not
life
saying you
if a
should
key
become some
relationship
kind of
was no
productivity
longer
robot.
present.
But if you
How
consistently
would your
choose
daily
what feels
routine
good
change?
now over
What
what's
would you
good for
miss
you
most?
long term,
What
you're
do you
programming
currently
yourself
take for
failure.
granted?
Here's the
Then when
pattern.
you next
Easy
see
now
this person,
means hard
notice how this
later.
awareness
Hard
transforms
now
your
means
interaction.
easy later.
Seneca
When you
explained this
repeatedly
practice.
choose the comfortable
He
option,
robs present
you're making
ills
your
of their
future
power,
self deal
who
with
has
the
perceived
consequences.
their coming
You're borrowing
beforehand.
happiness from tomorrow.
Third,
To pay for comfort
virtuous
today.
expression for
I
Stoics.
used to come home from
True
work
love
every day
was
and
expressed not
immediately turn on
primarily
the
through
TV.
words or
I told
feelings,
myself
but
I
through virtuous
deserved
action.
to relax.
Epictetus
And I
taught that
did deserve
genuine
to
love
relax.
must be
But after
aligned with
3
nature
hours of
and
mindless
reason.
TV watching,
Try this.
I would go to bed
Identify
feeling
one way
unfulfilled and
your
wake up
love
the next
might
morning
be clouded
feeling
by
behind.
unhealthy attachment
Meanwhile, I
or
had goals I
unreasonable
wanted to achieve,
expectations.
skills
Challenge
I
yourself
wanted
to
learn,
replace this
and
with a more
relationships
virtuous
I wanted to
expression of
build.
love.
But I
One
was
based
choosing
on giving
immediate
rather than
comfort
taking,
over long-term
appreciation rather than
growth. The
expectation.
strong man move.
These practices
Do the hard
aren't
thing
theoretical.
first.
They're
Every
practical
day, tackle
tools that
something
have helped
challenges
countless
you
individuals
before you do
transform their
something that just
relationships
entertains
through the
you.
Stoic understanding of love's
Exercise before you
temporary
check
nature.
social media. Work on your goals
Loving
before
without
you
fear.
watch TV. Have that difficult conversation before you avoid it with distractions. Train yourself to find satisfaction in growth, not just in comfort. The most fulfilling experiences in life come from overcoming challenges, not from avoiding them. Comfort is not the goal. Growth is the goal. Comfort is actually the enemy of the man you want to become. Sign number 11. You don't take charge of what you do. Showing up late and acting like it's no big deal. Making commitments you don't keep. Starting projects you don't finish. Letting other people clean up your messes. Making excuses instead of creating solutions. This isn't about being perfect. This is about being accountable. When you don't take ownership of your actions and their consequences, you're not being a man. You're being a burden. People are watching how you handle responsibility. Your boss is watching to see if you can be trusted with bigger projects. Your friends are watching to see if you can be counted on. Your family is watching to see if you can be depended upon. And when you consistently fail to take ownership, they stop giving you opportunities. They stop including you in important decisions. They stop trusting you with things that matter. Early in my career, I had a habit of making excuses when things went wrong. Traffic, technology problems, other people's mistakes. There was always something outside my control that explained why I didn't deliver. And technically, some of those excuses were valid. But my boss told me something that changed everything. I don't need to hear why it didn't work. I need to know how you're going to make sure it works next time. The strong man move, your word becomes your bond. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you
make a mistake, own it immediately and completely. Stop making excuses and start creating solutions. Instead of explaining why something went wrong, focus on how you're going to make it right. People don't remember your excuses. They remember your results. They remember whether you can be trusted to follow through. Reliability is a superpower in a world full of people who make promises they don't keep. Sign number 12. You consistently feel bad about yourself. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I'll never be successful. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not smart enough. Everyone else has it figured out except me. This negative self-talk isn't just harmless thoughts. You're literally programming your brain for failure with every negative statement you make about yourself. Look, I get it. We all have insecurities. We all have areas where we wish we were better. But there's a difference between acknowledging areas for improvement and constantly tearing yourself down. When you talk to yourself negatively, you're not being realistic. You're being destructive. You're not motivating yourself to improve. You're convincing yourself that improvement is impossible. And here's what's really happening. You're treating yourself worse than you would treat a friend. If your best friend came to you with a problem, would you say, "Yeah, you're right, you're not good enough and you'll never succeed"? Of course not. You'd encourage them and help them find solutions. So, why do you treat yourself worse than you treat other people? I used to have this internal voice that would criticize everything I did. Not smart enough to start a business. Not charismatic enough to make videos. Not experienced enough to give advice. That voice kept me small for years. Finally, I realized that voice wasn't protecting me. It was limiting me. It wasn't keeping me safe from failure. It was guaranteeing failure. The strong man move. Start talking to yourself like you would speak to a friend you believe in. Catch negative thoughts and reframe them. Instead of, I always mess up, try, I'm learning from this experience. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I'm getting better every day. Instead of, I can't do this, try, I'm figuring out how to do this. You become what you repeatedly tell yourself. If you tell yourself you're weak, you'll act weak. If you tell yourself you're strong, you'll find ways to be strong. Your self-talk is either building you up or tearing you down. Choose to build. And finally, sign number 13, you don't keep in touch with positive influences. You avoid people who challenge you to be better. You often make excuses to avoid spending time with successful people. You distance yourself from mentors, coaches, or friends who push you to grow. You surround yourself with people who enable your worst habits instead of inspiring your best qualities. This one is huge because the people you surround yourself with have a massive impact on who you become. Show me your 5 closest friends, and I'll show you your future. If you're around people who complain all the time, you'll likely become a complainer too. If you're around people who make excuses, you'll likely make excuses too. If you're around people who have given up on their dreams, you'll give up on yours. But if you surround yourself with people who are growing, learning, and pushing themselves, you'll be pulled up by that energy. I used to avoid successful people because they made me feel uncomfortable. They would ask me about my goals, challenge my excuses, and expect more from me than I was giving. It was easier to hang out with people who were content with mediocrity. We could complain together, make excuses together, and stay comfortable together. But comfortable together is still comfortable. And comfortable doesn't grow. The strong man move actively seek out people who are where you want to be. Join groups, find mentors, attend events, and read books by people who inspire you. And here's the key. Don't just consume their content. Engage with them. Ask questions. Offer value. Build relationships. You don't have to completely cut off old friends, but you do need to expand your circle to include people who will pull you forward, not hold you back. The fastest way to change your life is to change who you spend your time with. All right, strong male figure family, we've covered a lot of ground today. 13 signs of weakness that could be holding you back from becoming the man you're capable of being. Now, I want to be honest with you. You probably recognize yourself in some of these signs, maybe all of them, and that might feel overwhelming or discouraging. But here's what I want you to understand. Recognizing these patterns is not a reason to feel ashamed. It's a reason to feel hopeful. Because the first step to changing anything is awareness. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge. And now that you see these patterns clearly, you have the power to break free from them. The question isn't whether you've shown these signs of weakness. We all have. The question is, what are you going to do about it starting today? You don't have to tackle all 13 at once. Pick one. The one that resonated most strongly with you. The one you know is holding you back the most. Focus on that one for the next 30 days. Because here's the truth about strength. It's not about never falling down. It's about getting back up, learning from the fall, and becoming someone who falls less often. It's not about being perfect. It's about being better today than you were yesterday. It's not about having no weaknesses. It's about not letting your weaknesses control your life. You have everything you need inside you right now to start this transformation. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need anyone else to change first. You just need to decide that you're done accepting less than your potential. Be the man your family needs. Be the man your community needs. Be the man you need. The work starts now. If this video helped you today, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content on building masculine strength and character. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 13 signs hit closest to home? What's the first change you're going to make? Let me know, because your journey can inspire someone else to start theirs. Until next time, stay strong, stay growing, and remember, you're capable of more than you know.